Hey everybody, this is Mrs. Costello. Some of you have me, some of you don't have me. I'm up in R13, so yeah, if you have questions or you just want to come say hi because you liked my video, you are more than welcome to. So this is going to be the Unit 1 Day 2 video. It's kind of a short and sweet one. It's a lot of review, which is really cool, so some of you guys are just going to love this day. Our big thing today is we are solving linear equations and inequalities. So if we're solving an equation, we're looking at, something with an equal sign. If we're doing an inequality, we're looking for like greater than, or less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So the process is still the same. There's just a couple little things that we have to watch out for. So let's do it. We're solving for the first few. Okay, so on number 1, solving for x. Okay, this should be some algebra review. Here's x. Okay, most of you guys know, first thing you do, you're going to subtract that 8 on both sides. So I have x over -7 equals 3 minus 8 is -5. And then to get that x by itself, to get rid of the -7 on the bottom, let's multiply by -7 on both sides. So on the left side, we're left with x equals, and then -5 times -7 is positive 35. If you want to plug in and check your answer, you can. You don't have to, but it's always a good idea if you have extra time. I'm not going to, but if you want to, you can. Number 2, we do have an inequality sign. So again, it's not going to really change our process, but we do have to kind of pay attention to a couple of things. So we're still going to be solving for our variable, which is w this time. So we know that to isolate w, we are going to get rid of this -5 first. So I'm going to add 5 on both sides. Oops, that's not what I want. There we go. Oh, and some of you guys, you still kind of split up each side where the inequality or the equal sign is. That's totally okay. I didn't do that on the last one, but if you want to, you totally can. So 5's go away. 13 plus 5 is 18. And then keep that inequality, that less than -3/5 w. Okay. So here with the fraction, you have 2 choices. You could multiply by the reciprocal to get rid of the fraction in 1 step. Some of you guys, I know, do it in 2 steps, so I can show you the second step, but for now I'm just going to do times the reciprocal. So I'm going to flip that 3/5 and make it -5/3, because I do want to get rid of that negative sign too, times -5/3. If you want to, you can also change that 18 to 18/1, so you can see how it multiplies or how it cross-reduces a little bit. Okay, so let's take care of the left side first, and then we'll talk about some inequality reminders. So on the left side, the 3 and the 18, you can cross-reduce that. You can divide them both by 3. So it's going to become a 1. The 18 is going to become a 6. And then you can just multiply straight across, no more fraction, which is really nice. So -5 times 6 is -30, and then 1 and 1, we don't have to worry about that, no more fraction. Now, you do have an inequality. Remember, anytime you multiply or divide by a negative, you got to flip that guy. So this less than is now going to be a greater than. And this is gone. If you like to write your answer with the variable first, so this is going to be your answer, or you can also write it as w is less than -30. It's the same thing because that inequality sign is still facing the -30. I just switched the order. Now I'll show the 2-step on the fraction on a different problem, but if you did it in 2 steps, you would still get the same answer. Number 3, okay, we do have a variable. Okay, we have m, so we're going to be solving for m. And we do have some fractions. Now, I know that I have to move the 1/2, but you can't subtract the 1/2 and the 5/6 yet because they don't have common denominators. So we are going to multiply the 1/2 by 3/3. I know some of you guys can do that in your head and you can just like cross them off and that's totally fine. I'm just breaking it down for people in case they need it. So 3 times 1 is 3 over 3 times 2 is 6 minus m equals 5/6. And now I'm ready to go. So I'm going to subtract 3/6 on each side. Those guys go away. I have negative m equals, when you subtract fractions, you only subtract the tops or the numerators. So 5 minus 3 is 2/6. So we have a couple things to do. We do need to get rid of that negative. So we do need to divide by -1. If you know that it's going to change the sign, you can just show that in the next step without actually writing out the dividing. That's okay. So m equals, so this is now going to be a negative. And then we do want to reduce that fraction. So 2/6 reduces to 1/3. So this is going to be our answer right here. M equals -1/3. Great. There are 2 more. There we go. They're loading. Why don't you pause your video and you do 4 and 5, and then I will give you the answer. If you don't know, if you didn't get that answer, you can always go back and check your work, or you can ask a question in class. But right now you are doing number 4 and number 5 on your own. So pause the video and do those. So there's answers to 4 and 5. If hopefully you got those answers. If you didn't, go back and check your work. If you're not sure why I did something, or like maybe your work doesn't match up with mine, you can always ask your teacher, or you can come ask me and we can explain it to you. We are going to do number 6 together. Okay, so number 6, there's just a couple steps before you start moving things. Again, I know this is review for a lot of you guys, so a lot of you guys are like, yeah, I know how to do that. So you can kind of skip around if you need to. This -2 is on the outside. So we are going to distribute that inside just to the parentheses, not to that -4, because the -4 is outside. So -2 times 3x is -6x. -2 times 1 is -2. Minus 4 equals -6x minus 6. On the left side, we have to combine some like terms before we can start moving things around. So I have -6x and then -2 minus 4. Those guys are like terms. That makes -6. All right. So when you get here, some of you guys might already know the answer. Some of you guys remember the answer. If you want to keep going, it's all good. Okay, if you want to skip to the end of the video, the end of this little problem to see if you got the right answer, cool. What I would do in the next step is I would get rid of the smaller variable. Now I have -6x and -6x. They're the same. So there's no smaller variable. It doesn't matter which one I get rid of. So I'm going to add 6x on each side. Those guys, both of them go away, and I'm left with -6 equals -6. Now, is -6 equal to -6? Yes, it is. That means that it does not matter what I put in for x, like those guys are going to be equal no matter what, which means I have an infinite number of solutions. You can put infinite solutions. Some of you guys might put all real numbers. That's the abbreviation for all real numbers. Either of those are fine in this situation when we're talking about an equation. There's going to be times where we want you to put infinite solutions versus something else, and we'll let you know like when that is. Number 7, really similar, except this time I have an inequality. So I'm going to have to watch out for any multiplying or dividing by negatives. But I do have a distributing at first. I am going to distribute the -2 to everything in the parentheses. I'm going to ignore that +4 because it's not in the parentheses. So -2x plus 12, sorry, plus 4 less than or equal to -17 minus 2x. All right, let's clean up the left side. So I have 12 plus 4. Those guys are like terms. So I'm going to add them. they make 16 less than or equal to negative 17 minus 2x. Now this one's similar to the last one. I'm going to move the negative 2x because it doesn't matter which one I do because they're both negative 2x. So add 2x, add 2x. Your variables go away and you're left with 16 less than or equal to negative 17. Now, on this one, it's very similar to when there's an equal sign. Is 16 less than or equal to negative 17? It's not. It's never going to be, right? Positive 16 is always going to be bigger than negative 17. So that means that there is no solution on this one. You can put that as an answer, or you are also more than welcome to put this 0 with a line through it. That just means the empty set. It means there's no number I can put in for x that would make this inequality true. Number 8 is a word problem. So in the word problem, we are working with this equation right here, this Celsius to Fahrenheit equation. And we use that to change temperature from from Fahrenheit to Celsius because there's places in the world that use Celsius as their primary degrees. We use Fahrenheit in the United States. So this might be kind of useful. All right, so we either need to find the Celsius or find the Fahrenheit equivalent using our equation. So in part A, we're given a Fahrenheit. So that means I'm going to take 212 degrees and I'm going to plug that in where F is. So C equals 5 over 9 times 212 minus 32. Now, if you're pretty good with your calculator, you can just plug that in like that and the calculator will just spit out your answer. If you're not super sure how to plug that in, that's okay. Just make sure you put all the parentheses in the right places. If you don't use your calculator, it's all good. So C equals 5 over 9 times 212 minus 32 is 180. Okay. Now you can multiply that. That can be done in your calculator. You can multiply that in 2 steps. It doesn't really matter. So when you multiply 5/9 by 180, you should get 100 degrees. Okay, so 212 is equivalent to 100 degrees Celsius. It's pretty hot. Part B, you have the Celsius now. So if you go back to your equation, instead of the Fahrenheit, I'm going to put it in on the other side of the equation. So I'm going to start with 70. So I'm going to say, okay, 70 equals 5 over 9 times Fahrenheit minus 32. Some of you guys are going to want to distribute. Don't do that because it's just an extra step that you really, really don't need. Instead, let's get rid of the 5/9. Okay, so let's multiply by that reciprocal. Let's multiply by 9 over 5 on both sides so that you can just get rid of that right there. Okay, and then you don't have to worry about distributing, and then you'll only have like 1 step left, and it'll be really nice. Let's cross reduce those guys. So 70 can be divided by 5. 70 divided by 5 is 14. So I'm going to put a 1 there. Let's change that to a 14. No more fractions, super nice. 9 times 14 is 126 equals, no more fraction. So you can also ditch those parentheses and just write F minus 32. And then you only have 1 more step, right? Add the 32, add the 32. 126 plus 32 is 158. So 158 degrees is the equivalent of 70 degrees Celsius. Yikes. Alrighty, we got 2 more. Okay, these are literal equations, and what that means is there's no numbers. Okay, and these literal equations are equations that we actually use all the time. Sometimes they're formulas, and you would plug in the number values for this. So you guys might recognize this from Geo, right? A squared plus B squared equals C squared. That's our Pythagorean theorem. Okay, we're going to pretend we don't know side A. So it says solve each equation for the variable. So when it says 4A, that means that my goal is to get A equals. Let's say I don't have side A, right? That's a very realistic thing that might happen in Geo. You're missing a side. So we're going to move everything away from the a. So I'm going to move the b squared over by doing minus b squared. So I have a squared equals c squared minus b squared. And then remember, you want a equals, not a squared equals. So I want to do the opposite of squaring something, which is square rooting. So I want to square root these guys. That gets rid of that. So I have a equals square root c squared minus b squared. Now do not say, okay, the c squared and the b squared, the squares go away on the radical. That's not what happens, okay? That can't happen with this minus sign right here. Okay, if it was like c squared times b squared, absolutely, but you can't do that with adding and subtracting. You just leave it like that. And one more. Okay, so same thing, same idea. This time we want b1. Okay, we want b1 equals. So we're going to move everything away from the b1. Okay, now on this one, there's a couple things that you can do. You can go, okay, I really want to get rid of this guy right here, this fraction. That's what I would do first. So to get rid of the 1/2, you have to times both sides by 2. So I get 2a equals, I'm going to keep b1 plus b2 in parentheses times the h. That's why I'm keeping them in parentheses, because that h is still out there. Let's get rid of the h next. So the h is being multiplied, so we're going to divide it to get rid of it. So 2a over h equals b1 plus b2. And now I'm on my last step. I'm going to move the b2 away from the b1. So 2a over h is its own fraction minus b2 equals b1. And that's going to be your final answer. All right, so that's it. If you have questions, please bring them to class. If not, you guys are good to go. So I hope you have a good day.